Gord Honey was a longtime friend and Kamloops-based guide. Sadly, Gord passed before his time. During his time with us, Gord developed many simple, successful guide flies. When caddis are active and trout are focusing on the pupa, his Hollywood Caddis is one of the best patterns to have in your box. Join me at my vise. I'll show you how I tie it. So I'm now going to tie a Hollywood Caddis. This pattern was originated by a good friend of mine, Gord Honey, who sadly left us a number of years ago, but it's still a great pattern. I first featured it in my Fly Patterns for Stillwater's book, which is unfortunately out of print now, so I'm trying to get some of these flies in that book onto camera so you can tie them. Into the vise, I've placed a Daiichi 1120 number 8 scud hook. You could tie this in a number 10 as well. I've got a 1/8 copper bead on it. If you were to tie this in number 10, I would probably use a 7/64. For the tying thread, we're going to use some Nano silk in olive. You could certainly use classic waxed as well, but I like the Nano silk because it's very thin, it's very strong, very forgiving, but it is smooth on the hook, so it is a little slippery to start with. So I just wrap it on a little more than I would with polyester thread, and to cut it, you can see I just opened the blades and pushed against tight thread and sheared it off. You don't want to nip it because it starts to fray and you get little fine fibers going everywhere. So we're just going to put a base layer of thread down the shank and go down a little bit, on about a 45-degree angle from the thread when I pull it off the shank to the hook point. And then we're going to advance the tying thread forward again and secure in our ribbing material. So I'm going to tie in the ribbing material just slightly in front of the hook point because forward of that area is going to be where the thorax will be found. So for the ribbing material, we are going to use some stretch floss. This is in like an insect green or lime coloration because many stillwater caddis have a prominent yellowish to insect green to lime ribbing on them, body segmentation. So we'll get this tied in and secure this all the way down the shank to where we ran our thread. Put that in our material clip so it's out of harm's way. I'm going to come forward just a little bit. For the body, we're going to use some Hare's Ear Plus. Love good old rabbit fur. A great dubbing, easy to work with, and when you brush it out, it's got that nice translucent look. So Rabbitron or Hare's Ear Plus is just natural rabbit fur mixed with antron fibers that makes it kind of catch light and add a little bit of sparkle. We're just twisting this onto the tying thread. Not too tight because we're going to brush this out. We want to create a bit of a shaggy look to this fly because we're like chironomids, like calabatus caddis flies also use trapped gas to aid their ascent to the surface and also their final transformation to their terrestrial adult stage. You can imagine when that gas sort of comes out of the split in the thorax, it kind of helps push the adult that's inside out into our world. So we're just going to build this up. And again, I don't use dubbing wax. Sometimes I'll moisten my fingers a little bit just to help get this into control, but I don't want that dubbing. The reason I don't like using the dubbing wax is I don't want it to accidentally mat down fibers because dubbing has that nice translucent look, and we need that for many good stillwater fly patterns. So this will just help when it's just twisted around the thread to brush it out in a few seconds after we rib it. So we're just going to come forward here. Continue dubbing. And bring that right up. Almost to the bead. And then we're going to take our ribbing material and we're just going to open spiral this. It's a subtle effect, so we're not going for exact body segment representation. We are just getting a nice segmented ribbing. Bring that up. Tie it off. You always want to tie off super floss very, very well. Pull on it to reduce the bulk. And I'm actually going to throw 2 or 3 turns or 4 turns of a whip finish in here to lock that off, because what I want to do now is take this opportunity just to pick and brush out. This is a hairline dubbing brush, and just roughen this up. Velcro also works really well for rabbit as well. So I'm just going to brush this on all sides and just, again, pick out that dubbing. And of course, after a few fish chewing on it, it's going to further pick it out. But it just kind of creates what is often referred to as a halo effect with that dubbing. So I just want to brush it out and make it buggy like that. That looks good. The thorax is really simple. It's just pheasant tail colored angel hair. So now I'm going to form a dubbing loop. So I'm going to take my forefinger. I'm not going to make a very big dubbing loop, but it's going to wrap it around the forefinger, back up to the shank, wrap back, and that's going to close up the thread strands really tight. And I can wrap back onto the body a little bit. Whenever I do body and thorax, I often overdub the body slightly forward and wind back on it to create the thorax. This ensures that my body disappears neatly into my thorax and I don't have a little ditch that forms. Then I'm going to replace my finger with a dubbing tool. This is a nice one with Dr. Slick. It's got a nice weighted end. Just hold that in place. And then I've trimmed a clump of angel hair from the package. And I'm just going to open the loop. And insert the angel hair equally in the loop like this. And then I can use my thumb and forefinger if I want to spread it out. And I'm just allowing that weight of the tool to put tension on there, and I'm also pulling down slightly. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to spin this counterclockwise. And I'm actually left-handed but tie right-handed, so I've always got to be conscious of this. But we want to twist it clockwise because, look, and this is looking down from the top of the fly, because that's the way when we wind this is going to further tighten, because every time we wind, if you're right-handed tire and you wind over and away, you're putting a clockwise twist. So this just further magnifies that clockwise twist we're going to naturally put in. So I started slow because I don't want to accidentally throw any of these fibers out. And then once, just pull the thread up out of the way. Once I've got everything trapped, then I can really give it a good spin. And our dubbing noodle is formed. So now we're just going to wind this. I've got a little bit, you see how I left the bare thread? This allows me to get a few practice wraps, if you will, to make sure I get this bright, gaudy thorax. This is where the fly gets its name from. It's bright, and bright lights of Hollywood, I guess, is what Gord was thinking. And then once I've got that first wrap in, then I'm going to, I can moisten my fingers a little bit and just pull everything back. So with every wrap, I'm trying to sweep these fibers back out of the way so I don't trap any of them down. Just like this. Wrap that right up to the back of the bead and then tie off the excess dubbing loop. 2 over the top, couple in front. I'm going to come in with my scissors, again using the open blades to just saw or shear that off. Then we're going to apply a little bit of brushable super glue to the tying thread. Spin that thread clockwise. That'll cord it up and tighten it up. Pull everything back and just wind that coated thread right behind the bead. Come in with our whip finisher and trim. And again, a little bit of tension, open blades, shear that off. Now we've got to give this a bit of a haircut because we only really want the fibers to be on the lower half of the fly. So we're going to start on top and trim this almost flush. Of course, you want to do this in sections because you don't want to over trim because you can't add any more on or glue it back on when you're done. And we're just going to come along the sides as well. And do the same on the other side. And just get that Trim some of these longer strands we've got going here. I can see one way back there. It's gone. Still needs some thinning out. So what I'm going to do as well is just brush it too, because any of the fibers that are trapped in there are going to pop up at the least opportune time. But it's better to have this on a little on the sparse side. At least that's the way I tie it. Sadly, Gord isn't here to correct me, but I'm just going to come in and do a little trimming like this. Of course, you could do a little on the water trimming if the fish seem to be a little shy. I've got a few errant fibers here. But that's basically the Hollywood Caddis. Gaudy, and this is just like trimming deer hair. You'd be here for hours just fussing and manicuring your fly, probably unnecessarily. Well, there you have it. I'll give it another final brush. Get that body material out as well. And there you have it, the finished Hollywood Caddis. Thanks, Gord, for such a great fly. When caddis pupa are on the move, you've got a caddis hatch and fish are taking the ascending pupa. This fly fished on a floating line, long leader, midge tip, or hover line with anywhere from a slow, steady hand twist to 2 to 3 inch strip pause with prolonged pauses to imitate a sculling caddis. This fly can really work great. Thanks again, Gord.